So, let's have a look at Crosby Street.
Yeah, Crosby Street, towards the Market Square, right hand side, just round the corner from Becky Wilson's.
Yeah.
There was a newspaper shop. Oh, and then there was a chemist shop. Pickering, that's him. That was Chemist. Then there was Redmayne's on the corner. As you go down John Street, to Redmayne's. Oh, it's all coming back now. Fellow that ran that was from Wigton.
They had an army contract, they did. And any lasses that worked there were making army uniforms. Or part of. Maybe just the jackets or maybe just the trousers, but... So they had a contract, the army contract. That's all I know about them. By the lasses that used to do the jobs.
Did you ever have anything made there?
Yeah. 5 bob a week. Suits. Yeah. That was in 1950s. I think a suit then was about £6. And you put 5 shillings down and you paid 5 shillings every week. So that would be £1 in a month, and in 6 months you'd have it paid. There's quite a lot of us that did that, man. Well, you had to. Because I had any money in the I didn't have a bank there. I had any bank hung out. But my grandmother always used to help us. Because she used to say, you've got to be nicely dressed. Neatly dressed. Of course, she was a dressmaker, eh? I mean, she made all my shirts and pants and such like during the war. Well, I don't know where she got cloth for there, but well, she maybe tear some up, rip some up, and she had a sewing machine which she used with her foot. Aye, she was good.
My gran got a tin of corned beef, and there was a lad worked at Sillett Aerodrome, repairing and abandoning, what do they call these things? Parachutes. And she went to his mum and she said, can you get you with George to get me some parachute silk, and I'll give you I'll give you this tin of corned beef. And he thought about it for a while and he agreed. So he come back with them wrapped around his middle for 3 or 4 days, bits of, not the real thing, bits of, and the silk, because they were stitched in silk, with rolls of silk as well. And he come home with them, and Miss Irving made a wedding dress for Lily. A pure silk, white wedding dress for when he come home on leave. It was all planned and nice yours.
So, at the bottom, there were a couple of butchers.
Oh, opposite side, yeah, Carpenter's and Elliott's.
Do you remember anything about those two?
Yeah. Elliott's, I didn't know much about Elliott's because...
there was also a woman in when I went in.
Yeah, so there was a tall woman.
A tall woman.
Yeah, Elliot, yeah. He was a big man in the slaughterhouse business. And his daughter ran the shop, Elliot's shop. Because we used to go in the slaughterhouse at nights and kill the rats, cut the tails off, and take them up and get 3 each for each tail. The slaughterhouse was where B&M is now. Do you know where B&M is? The slaughterhouse was there. But it was a cruel place, that. I remember them doing a bull, and it got loose, and I think it broke a fella's legs. But that's what we used to get 3 a tail. Me and a lad called Teddy Hamilton, and we used to sometimes get ourselves 30 or 40 rats in a night. There was a big trough against the wall with a gap, but that much. So we used to drop some offal behind it, block this end up, because we knew the rats had holes in there, and just wait. And we had big lumps of pole with lead on the end, and we used to go boom, 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 right along. Then we'd get with a lantern, take them out, cut the tails. We chuck the bodies in the river, Helen, and take the tails in a bag. Next morning, Teddy, before we went to school, Teddy would take them up and they'd give us the money at school. Threepence a tail, mind. Aye. 2 meat shops. Elliott's and Cartmer. No, the Cartmers, if I think right, they're the farm at Bank End, as we call it. So all the toughs used to play golf with the +4s on.
Yeah, Cartmers, they had the farm on Bank End.
And did you say your dad did some work at Bank Farm?
Yeah, he used to help out sometimes, yeah, but he didn't get paid, he got fed. You know, they give him meat or veg or whatever, but that was when they wouldn't work and when there was no walkabouts.
Unemployment 1960.
And then, but they were the sold farm, Cartmers.
I'm sure they had that farm before the war. And it became Lawson's. And the Italian lad who worked there, he was a prisoner of war, Gino. They called him Gino. And he used to come to the pictures with us. It was, in those days, it was 4pence or 5pence to get onto the front of the stalls at the picture house, Carlton. And how we didn't go back at nights to Moota, I don't know. Moota was a big prisoner of war camp. But the ones that used to come to Greggins' farm, they were Germans, I think. And they used to be dropped off every morning about 8 o'clock and picked up about 4:30. Now, I can't remember whether there was a guard dropped off with them or not. I just can't remember that. There probably would be, wouldn't there? Of course, where could they escape to? You know.
And I think Sidney Logan bought Cartmers Butchers. Sydney had it, yeah. Sydney and Phyllis, yeah. Sydney was a down straight, King Street. He had, well, his dad had his first shop down there, in King Street. But I know Sydney and Phyllis, and they always had a nice window and meat and that on display. And then down Clerk's. Was Clerk's it was grocers.
He had a coffee grinder machine as you went in through the door, and I couldn't even tell you what they call him.
It was always known as Dan Clerk's.
The way they run tea, like Hamilton Fletcher's did. The way they run tea in the bags, you know, and then folded it over. No, I can't tell you anything about him really.
When I worked for Johnny Milligan, I used to go down there for the coffee. And I used to get a big basket full of bags of coffee to take up for him to sell.
So he was just like a general grocer?
Yeah. And next to him was it Sparks Chemist.
Jack's, what do you call him? Sparks it was. That's Chemist where you always sort of, well, I would say we were the oldest in Maryport at the time when I was a kid. Yeah, Hilty Hunter had it at finish, hadn't he? Yeah. But he worked for Sparks and he took it over Hilty.
Can you picture him?
Yeah, he was a rosy-faced fella.
He was like an agricultural chemist, you know.
Yeah.
He was a heavy-built man. He had all these big bottles on the shelves at the top. Big fancy old bottles with green and yellow and red liquid in them, and really old-fashioned, you know. They were never used, but they just look good.
Well, lived in Crosby Street, we used to use that Chemist's. Yeah. I'm going down to Sparks. Aye.
But I mean, I didn't get a lot. Folk couldn't afford chemists then.
He was a good chemist.
Oh, I don't know his own medication. If you went for a bottle out, you made it up while you waited, a bottle or anything there.
And I remember my nana had a dog called Molly, an old dog called Molly. She loved a bit. And every time, now and again, she'd go into Hilty Hunter and say, "What do you think about my old Molly?" And he'd come round and have a look and pull her back legs up and down like that, you know. He was a chemist, for God's sake. And another head up and feel along her back end and feel underneath where she'd had pups and I'd say a bit of aromatics there, Nelly. And he'd give her some of her dog's aromatics. You know, this is out of this world kind of thing. It doesn't happen these days, does it? Did then, though.
There's Early Hunter, then the pub, then the sale room, and then Claytons. Mr. Clayton. That must have been up in a long time. It was up before the war, definitely.
My mother always shopped at Clayton's. Well, I got Father Clayton. Go to Father Clayton's for it, you know, because it was elderly, like a nice fella. Can remember him, yeah.
I used to go to Mr. Clayton's for Sunday roast, as my grandmother called it. It was either 1 and 9pence or 2 and 3pence. And they used to put your 2 black puddings on as well. And they'd made the black puddings themselves. And they were black puddings, they were nice. They'd get the blood from the slaughterhouse. And they made their own sausage. You could see them making it.
But it was Clayton's, Father Clayton's, as she called it. You send it up there for any messages or sausage about, you know. It was just a little shop. I don't even think they'd meat on display.
Then further up, there's a clogger. There's a clogger shop. Can't think of his name now, that fella. But he used to be sitting making clogs when you went in.
John Lewis. He was there, in Crosby Street. John Lewis, yeah. He was next to below Byers. Yeah. Just a small spot, yeah. It was on corner, I think.
He kept pigeons. I think he had a house on High Street overlooking the sea. And I think he kept his pigeons in the backyard, big backyard. Man, there was a lot of pigeonholes in them days. Motel on Furnace Road below. I imagine be about maybe 12 foot in, and there was a Flimby and Broughton Mower. Big thing was pigeon racing.
Taffy Lewis, they called him Taffy Lewis, because he was a Welshman. And little big teeth and a cap on his head all the time. Big long fingers and a last between his knees.
He had the tops and the soles there, and he just had to do your hammer your sole to the sole clog. I mean, it was a wooden sole there. Put your corkers on, and away you went.
But he used to pull, with a pair of pliers, pull this leather round until he got the shape, you know, and then he'd tap it down. Always had a mouthful of tacks, constantly, and it went round, dunk, dunk, right round, just like that. Spoke broad Welsh accent. What a nice man. He'd talk to you while you were in there, you know, and tell you how good your feet would be because you wore these wooden soles. Everything was done by hand there. What a clever man when you think about it. His mouth was always blue and black because he had tacks in his mouth all the time.
Well, it was a clogger's shop. I mean, there was a stool you could sit on while you put your corkers on your clogs, you know. I used to go outside and kick the pavement in the sparks.
Yeah, the big sparks used to fly. And everybody, and your mother said, "Don't you wear them out. You've only about them, you wear them out."
When I finished school, I used to put the clogs on and then skate down the street, you know, sliding, yeah. And then neighbours used to come out and say, "Will you get your bloody cell away?"
That was what happened in my first. Only one pair I ever had. There was a slide. The street was cross, and them were bigger. And was big lads and lasses. They wouldn't let me on because I had a pair of clogs. So I went home crying. Run up to John Lewis. I got a pair, 6pence. Well, it was 1 or 6 or 6pence. I'm not sure. And when I went back, sun was out, no slide. And I wore clogs. Because I did try, when my mother said, you're going to wear them. I tried, but they used to kick my ankles with them, and I couldn't wear them.
Well, I wore them at school. Early on, when I was at national school. And a lot of the lads that I knew went to school with clogs on. You didn't know what else. My grandmother bought me a pair of boots, and that was for Sundays.
No. Clogs was for play. And rough, like being on the shore and that. But when you went anywhere, church and all that, you had shoes on. Imagine the clatter if you went to church in clogs. They must have done before my time. And next to him was Billy Byers, aye. Billy Byers, well, I didn't remember them in Centre Street. I only remember them in Crosby Street. I always knew they were in Crosby Street, and it was a big shop.
Oh, I know what you're talking about now with Byers. That's just ringing a bell. It was double fronted. That's just rung a bell there.
They just sold everything Byers there. Can't tell you much about him. Hair scraped back, thin fella. Another grey jacket. They all wore grey kind of funny jackets there. Shop coats there, they're called. They always wore one of them.
And then there was fish and chip shop, Harold Brown's fish and chip shop. Yeah, I used to go Harold Brown's, yeah.
Lovely fish
Nice,
up in town.
the batter was somewhat special. There's nobody else made batter like them.
Oh,
And nobody seemed to know the recipe either.
aye.
I don't think they passed it on.
On the paper he used to go like this with his thumb. And the papers used to go around, so it made it easy for picking it up. Adel Brown's fish shop. That was the shop that got a lot of trade when the fairs were here, because it was nearly up to Market Square.
You mentioned
Charlie Watson, the butcher. Charlie Watson, the butcher. Everybody went to Charlie Watson because you could buy all sorts of lights and bones and soap bones and pig trotters and things like that from Charlie Watson.
At weekends, I used to do trips for him,
yeah.
delivering meat for different customers.
He was a good man. If he knew it was a big family, he would sort of throw a couple of extra bits in and that kind of thing. Bacon scraps and things to make soap with. Family man. He was thinking as a family man. He was a good butcher as well.
So
Yeah.
Nana, did she send you up there for things?
Yeah. With sixpence the bacon bones. And make a huge cauldron of broth. And I say a cauldron, mind, because that was in the wash house, the communal wash house. And when all the washing was done and the fire was down in embers at the bottom, there were several women all chopping up in the meantime. Tuning up carrots, potatoes, onions, lentils, split peas, and then somebody arriving with bacon bones. And they all get dropped in and a big, like an oar that they used to stir it around all the time, otherwise it would catch, Then everybody come with a small enamel bucket and get their share. And that's how things were, maybe once, maybe twice a week even. That was good, wasn't it? And you always got somebody who said, I've just baked bread, as a loaf, and they'd chop it up into bits, to squares, and give a kid a square of bread and a dish of soup. It was genuine, Everybody liked everybody, knew everybody.
Then further up, as Thompson said, a shop would sell gear for toilets and water systems and all that. If anybody in the bust pipes, he had a bloke that used to go, and which was in them days he had it a lot. He used to go and fix them, weld them.
Yeah, I just walked in there and it was hardware. You could get paraffin oil or all kinds of screws and
Stoves and everything.
tools and
And,
You know, we had a good shop here. You sold all kinds of
well, there was two brothers of them, Reggie and
ironmongers, as what they call them.
ironmongers.
Yeah.
Reggie was the plumber.
I've gone up for paraffin, mind, when I was a kid. Like there are a lot of people had paraffin oil fires and all, and paraffin oil lamps, and
He never kept the paraffin in the shop. He had a local place in Crosby Street.
I mean, he stopped selling paraffin, I think, eventually. But when I was a kid, I've gone up for it. I used to go up there for paraffin oil.
And then on the other side,
There was two cake shops. Studholmes was the first, and they were right next door to each other. And there were two good cake shops.
They stood homes. I went for tea cakes or something like this. They had a son round about my age, that's why I remember that. Robert stood home. Aye. I think they were big Baptist church people. Oh, aye, yes, aye.
right, I'm just going to have a quick look and see if I've missed anything. Alf Gardeners.
Aye, bike shop
Bike shop, cycle shop.
was right on top of Wood Street, on the corner. Aye, you sell bikes. You don't charge your batteries up for your wireless, your accumulators, we call them.
Pedals,
Threepence a time.
tubes, wheels and everything.
Aye, you had everything else.
Everything, gardeners.
That's right, aye. Because he used to do out my grandfather's batteries, charging his batteries up for his wireless. With a big wet battery, you know, in them days. You'd one in there and one at home. And when that was getting down, you took it back, paid your fourpence, and swapped them over. In his in the back place, he'd give you rows of batteries.
Oh, yes, I was often sent up. Well, in far to go, just up back
Oh, there was a
there.
big batteries like, and there was acid inside.
Aye, yeah. Well, don't let it touch your clothes, acid.
They were a glass kind of thing with heavy, with a handle, and a positive and a negative, and they were liquid inside, and you took them to gardeners, Alf Gardeners, and everybody hated it. They were so heavy, but you had to have a battery, an accumulator. What a backward thing when you think about that now, eh? You know, because there wasn't electric in the houses then, was there? Everybody had a radio because the young ones was in the war, weren't they? They wanted to know what was going on. If the odd person didn't have a radio, they'd run along and tell them what was going on if they knew. And when somebody are you putting the radio on because hey, that battery's halfway down? Ah, it's all right. Well, you'll take it, man. You'll take it. I'll take it back. Heavy they were and all, but you know, stop halfway back brow for a minute or two. Maybe 2 or 3 you're doing it, you know, swearing like hell that you'd got the job, charging batteries, taking them Alf Gardener. Stocky with fat fingers, not very tall. He used to wear a brown overall coat. Always wore that. Clever man though, because he was into everything like that. Mechanically minded, he was. You say, come and see his bikes. He's now got some nice bikes. He sold bikes there, and he did repairs, I know, bike repairs as well.
Alfie Garner got my first bike there. My grandmother bought the money she saved up for us in bank. She says, come on, we're going to see Alfie Garner. And I can't think, I must have been about 13 or 14. And there was yarn a Rally Sports. Never forget it. And right away I fell in love with it. I says, I like that. And then I thought, oh God, it'll be a lot of money. And I'm very sure it was £8.75 shillings she got it for. I think she haggled with them. And I got that bike, oh hey, oh. I was stuck on Maryport. Look at him on your bike, look at him on your bike. Oh, they get on your bike. Whatever that means.
Oh, well, we've done some chatting in our time tonight, haven't we, eh?
I've enjoyed it. It's nearly bedtime.
It's all there, but it just needs reminding somehow. Just like odd words that. Chris, I can't remember what I went yesterday.
Lovely smile, lovely to see you, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you have, and I haven't bored you to tears.
Yeah, the only thing is I didn't realise it talked so bloody long and remember half the things I've remembered.
I've enjoyed your company. If you're ever in this area, come and see us.
I will do. I'll be up again.
And bring the wife.
Absolutely.
And then you can go to the sleever with me.
Like the old dog yet?